Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Automatic, the connected car company that improves your driving and integrates your car into your digital life. For more information, visit automatic.com/twit and enter the code TWIT to get 20% off your purchase. And by the Ring Video Doorbell. With Ring, you can see and talk to anyone at your door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like caller ID for your home. Right now, get free expedited FedEx shipping in time for the holidays when you go to ring.com/allaboutandroid. And by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all of the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. Hello, welcome to another episode of All About Android. This is episode 241, recorded on Tuesday, November 24th, 2015. We're your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion.
How's it going, y'all?
Good. It's Turkey Week.
I know. Are you like pre-full?
It's freezing in New York, so
Well,
I'm not very happy.
Oh, poor West Coast Ron.
I'm home for the holiday, and I will deal with the heat because I get to see my lovely family. So there you go.
Yeah. Are you going to have to deal with snow?
Hopefully not. I don't think it's that cold. It's been getting to like 37 or so, but I don't think it's going to snow. So
Okay.
oh, it's like romantic cold.
It's supposed to be 70 by Friday.
Romance
so who
cold.
knows?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's not too bad.
Romance cold, where you get a little like red flushed cheeks and you're all like cute and you like nuzzle noses.
I'm just
saying.
There's a lot of aspects of cold I just haven't thought about or considered before. But you're right. You're right. We are excited to welcome back to the show Andrew Martinick, editor at Android Central. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing just fine, and it is very, very cold up here in Seattle too. But no snow on the way either.
Does it snow a lot in Seattle?
Well, no. Being at sea level means that you don't really get much snow.
It burns off.
You know,
if it
up in the mountains, yeah, absolutely. Just right outside the city.
Mm-hmm. I will say, Andrew, I searched high and low for a Starbucks story, but I could not find one. I'm really bummed.
You're failing me here.
I'm pretty much convinced that Andrew has 2 beats, at least on the internet. One is Android, and the other is Starbucks. Because if you follow Andrew on Twitter,
Starbucks
always checking in at a Starbucks.
always. Is that mainly your office, a Starbucks cafe?
Well, you know, when you have as many options for Starbucks around here, it means you can just go to a new one, every single day and just never go to the same one twice. So it's a good way to get out of the house and go stretch the legs a little bit.
I suppose so. And the coffee ain't bad also.
There's plenty of other coffee shops too.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Hey, we've got lots of non-coffee related news to talk about this week. We're going to be talking.
I can do that too.
Okay, good. I knew we brought you back
All right, I'll stick
for a
around.
reason.
Okay, cool.
We have app streaming, cool little thing that Google unveiled last week involving app streaming and Google search results. LG kind of flubbing the Watch Urbane LTE launch, if you could call it a launch, unlaunch. Google Plus getting a big redesign that I'm not sure I like very much. The OnePlus X review from 2 folks, not one, but 2 folks here, just put in a review on that. So we're going to hear from you guys on that and so much more. But I think we got to talk about the big news story this week. Let's do it, Brian.
Turkey Day is right around the corner, but before you fill up, be sure to fill up on Android news.
That was really good.
That was good. It was timely. It hit all the notes.
See,
good job, Brian.
When I have
A++.
a holiday that I can work up
It's easy,
to, it's
yeah.
easy.
Yeah. So you got Christmas, you got some
Ooh,
Santa
I can't wait for my
Claus or
birthday.
gifts.
My birthday's on a
birthday.
Monday
Oh.
next year.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know
have
if he
to be,
actually
like,
does
post-birthday.
birthday messages there, Flo. I think we need to keep more general.
We might make an exception for Flo.
Thank you, Brian.
As long as Brian knows what you need. Obviously, what you need to do is you need to get in touch with Brian like a week before your birthday and just let him know.
I will.
Give him a heads up.
I will. You all
like, my
know.
birthday is coming up. If you could prepare a nice Android news thing for me, that would be great.
Yeah,
I'm already thinking about it.
All right, good. So last Wednesday, Google announced app streaming for mobile search. So what is this? It's virtual machines running versions of, let's say, an app in the cloud. It's going to stream that content to your Android device from that app, meaning the app itself is actually streaming through the cloud as if you had it installed on your device all along. You can interact with the streamed app much in the same way, if not exactly in the same way, as you would if it was locally installed. Now, Google launched this with a small group of partners to get the new setup going, including Xiaomi. This is a Portland, Maine company that creates apps that kind of act as companions, travel guides for U.S. national parks and other destinations. And we happen to have Sean Meredith, who's the co-founder and CTO of Xiaomi, on today to talk all about app streaming from more the developer and creator point of view. How's it going, Sean?
Very good. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. You emailed into the show, and it sounds like you're a fan of the show, and you said, well, I happen to be one of the partners. And I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about what this actually means and kind of possibly the greater implications of it. Before we kind of get into what the arrangement is with Google, tell us a little bit about your app, about Xiaomi.
Yep. So first off, Xiaomi basically is a suite of apps. In fact, as of just 2 days ago, we now cover 20 of the largest national parks in the United States. So we just released Denali and Death Valley, if anyone's ever been to those parks here. And anyway, what we do is we help you plan your trip, navigate while you're in the park, discover new things, and socialize afterwards. So as you can imagine, we try to cover the park in its entirety, including even little things like restrooms, right? For those of you with young children that want to know where the best restroom is or the cleanest one near you,
or that there is actually one somewhere.
Exactly. The thing that makes us unique is the apps work entirely offline. So while you're in the park and there's no cell phone signal, which is most of the parks, you have access to all the information and the most up-to-date information.
So this parks drop down, do you have an app for every one of these parks?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
Is it just for really big parks? Like, are there any Californian parks there?
Right now, we're focused on the national parks. So, for instance, for California, right, we have Yosemite, of course, which is big. A lot of the Utah parks near there. One of my favorites, of course, being here from Maine, Acadia National Park. We also cover Great Smokies, Cuyahoga Valley, Rocky Mountain, basically the largest of the national parks.
So that's cool. So, all right. So great apps, and obviously you have a lot of apps then, if that's the case. But you are kind of one of the launch partners with Google, and I think that's kind of a coveted place to be. You're able to kind of test out some of Google's early functionality and get mentioned by them. And I know you were actually shouted out. Is it related to this in this year's Google I/O on stage?
It is related. So I think, as you mentioned a little bit earlier when you were talking about app streaming, it also has a little bit to do with app indexing.
Right.
And at Google I/O, we were actually announced more for the app indexing part of it, and then the streaming part has come along a little bit later.
So how exactly did this arrangement come along? How did you find yourself in this, I would say, enviable position?
So the way we found ourselves in this position, Xiaomi is a small company. In fact, we just closed our first round of funding a couple months ago. However, we've been around for a couple of years as a hobby. My co-founder, Carrie Gallivan, and I basically started the company and doing something that we love, just helping people find the stuff in the parks that we really liked. And of course, they turned out to be a little bit bigger than that, and we've actually started scaling up the company. Well, as part of that, literally, I remember it pretty well. It was one afternoon, I read some blog post on the Google developer blog that said, make sure you index your apps. And I took a look at the code to do that, and we were getting ready to do a release, and so we put that in. And luckily, a couple years later, we get a call from Google that says, hey, you had implemented that like within the first hour of us making it live. And we got a lot of good search data out of your app, especially because we have high quality content. It's all original content written by experts in those particular parks in those areas. And they said, what we'd like to do is, invite you to be part of this program, because we know also as a company, you're mobile first, not web first. And we want to be able to try to index the information that would be contained in your mobile apps that are predominantly used offline.
Very cool. Now, so last week we got kind of the announcement that this was happening. I've hit you up on email right before the show, and I was like, how can I check to see if I can do this? And of course I cannot. You said you could do a search for us. I'll try and do it. I don't know if you have my feed, Brian, but let's see if this is going to work. So I'm going to do a search for Xiaomi Zion, which is one of your supported areas. So if it was working for me, this free would be replaced with something like Stream, right?
Exactly. Actually, up above, in fact, your search result actually looks a little bit even smaller than that, where it would say, Zion National Park by Xiaomi with the additional information. And then right next to where those stars are, it would either say installed or stream this app.
Got it.
And if it was installed and you tapped on it, it would just launch the app. If it's not installed and you tap on it, it will actually start streaming the app. And the only difference is you need to be on a Wi-Fi network in order for it to actually stream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
But
mine started streaming actually.
Yours is streaming?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, right on.
That's the first time I've seen it happening. Yeah, I had to add Xiaomi to the search. I searched for the Olympic National Park here in Washington.
Fantastic. Yep.
Can you hold it up to the camera?
Yeah, hold it to the camera. I'm curious to see it.
See if let me turn brightness down. That usually helps, right?
Oh, that is so cool.
Here we go. Brightness up a
somewhere in
little bit.
between those two.
It's a little bit of a
Exactly.
dance. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
There we go.
And you'll notice the only difference between our app and the streaming version is that little G
Yeah.
down the corner. And if you tap on that, you can actually install the app straight from there without ever even going to the app.
Oh.
Gives you, it's like a little floating action button.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. Now,
Very
so
user-friendly.
Andrew, you obviously have it running there. Is there lag as you're playing around with the app, or is it pretty fluid as far as that's concerned?
No, it seems just as fluid as like about the same as a web page, honestly.
Yeah. I would assume
Yeah, I guess that makes
it's
sense.
all indexed.
But it's like it's full screen. There, there's no Chrome, all around it.
Yeah.
You have the same, all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
I'm just
very
kind
neat.
of poking around here. It's the first
I know.
time it showed up for me.
Yeah,
But
that was one of my main questions, was about how the implementation would, the streaming of the app getting to the user. And it sounds like if it's Wi-Fi only, then that probably limits any sort of signal degradation, or, like if I switch from LTE down to E or something like that, it would start, were you concerned about this streaming approach affecting the user experience with your app?
We were a little bit at first, but however, Google's actually done a very good job of, as we work through the implementation, they've done an incredibly good job of not having it stream if you don't have a connection that supports it. Mm-hmm. And they're very aware of trying to minimize the impact on the user experience. They really want it to be the highest quality experience they can make it.
Are you hearing from users as far as how this trial is going for people that are discovering this? Any user feedback from?
Since it just launched last Wednesday, we don't have a lot of user feedback per se, but we do have just feedback from, as you can imagine, Google collects analytics on how it's being used and how many people have been able to use it. And we are definitely starting to see an uptick, which is very nice.
And is there, in terms of the app usage, is there, I mean, because I imagine your app is somewhat, it's an outdoors kind of thing, as Google laid out a plan for it to bridge the Wi-Fi gap and eventually work, beyond that, or is that always going to be a requirement as far as you know?
I'm sure they're working on it. I think the idea here is to just stage the rollout and make sure it's the highest quality experience as long as they can. There are some things coming up which will be, very, very nice in terms of how the user interacts. As I mentioned before, right now they can just tap to install. And when they tap to install, that install happens in the background. The user can keep interacting with the streaming app while that install is cool.
And I think that's super important.
Yeah.
I mean, this is to really lower the barrier to jumping between search and then content inside the app. But of course, the end goal in the end, of course, is just to install the app, which, as Sean said, as an all offline experience as well. So, I mean, you wouldn't want to be permanently streaming the app. And of course, you want to be able to do more advanced features in it. But when you could just tap that link and then now all of a sudden you're effectively running an app and then you can decide to install it, that's huge. You don't want people to have to wait to download and install and go through a setup process if they can just get like a little taste right out of the search results, I would think.
Exactly. And at Chimani, we were really excited about it because it allows people to see the high quality information and content that we bring. And that was really a deciding factor for us to actually, get involved with the program and work on this implementation.
Was there anything so did you just deliver to Google an APK, or was there a specific developer stuff that you had to, code that you had to put into the app in order to enable the streaming?
There's actually code that you do to enable how the indexing works so that it knows when to bring up your app in the search results. And then in terms of the actual streaming, they do have some requirements right now on some different things, such as, for instance, your search result needs to be able to open straight into the app without introducing any new interstitials or something that a user would view as jarring or taking them away from the experience of, searching for something and then getting to those search results.
We noticed you wanted to do this search, but first,
Exactly.
you know that we did this other cool thing? Hey, check it out. And we'll return you to your search result in a minute.
That's part of that deep linking and indexing, though, right? If you have the proper hooks. I mean, I know that we've done full app indexing on our own Android Central app, and if you do it properly, it lets you jump straight, straight through all of the, you skip all the other app stuff, you skip the splash pages, you just go straight to the, in our case, article, or in this case, a reference page.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, one of my questions was about de-incentivizing people from installing an app because they're just going to get it through the web. But I think the fact that it's limited to when you're on Wi-Fi versus at all times kind of takes care of that a little bit. Do you think there's enough in this kind of scenario to incentivize people to install the app? Do you think this is the kind of thing that is going to drive up your numbers?
We feel there is because, as I mentioned, so one of the features of our apps are to help you plan your trip. So right, they might do that in a streaming environment, but when they actually, want to go and use the app in a park, if they want to have the offline map, if they want to have the ranger events to be able to pull up at their fingertips, or even, like I said, to get directions to the nearest water station or restroom or something like that, they'll really want to have our apps installed on their device. Sure. And while at the park. So it was truly a win-win situation for Chimani and Google in this sense.
Well, that is super cool, and I'm stoked that Andrew, that you were able to pull this up on the fly, because I definitely had some questions about performance more than anything.
I hadn't gotten it to show up before when I saw this announcement. My colleague Jerry Hildenbrand had sent it over to me, and he goes, "You have national parks near you. Why don't you make some of these searches and see if it pulls up?" And it pulled right up here, and of course on Wi-Fi on the Nexus 6P, this is like the best possible experience. But it's nice. I think of it as this is like the best advertisement you can have for your app is that it, straight from search results, you're not taken to a web page. And for some, if you've already put the time, huge amount of time into making an app, and if you can just instantly display that to people who are searching, I think that's got to be a huge win.
Yeah, especially because we continue to hear these stories about how the majority of people don't install apps, or don't buy or install, take the time to install apps, whatever. Which is hard for me to understand because I install so many.
Well, I was going to say,
there are a lot of people that don't do that.
Doesn't Google have a thing where they tell developers, like, if you make an app, make it something that is not just sort of like a one-time use? I could have sworn I read something like that in the developer guidelines, but it's just like, if you're making an app, you want to have something that people can refer to constantly. So this way, developers can make part of their app that doesn't need to be it doesn't have to be installed all the time. You could just use the basic functionality through a web search. And then it also benefits Android as a whole, because you don't have to just have individual apps for everything. I think it's genius.
Now what they need to do is they need to stream this to other platform users and be like, see what you could get over on
through
Android.
an app.
This is what it's like on Android.
So
Don't
like
you
a Google
like what you
search
see?
app, and then you can use the Google search
You're
app
on iOS. You do a Google search. It pulls up the Android interface. I'm kidding, by the way. That would really upset
it's
a lot
a great
of people.
idea, but it would, that would not
No,
help
it wouldn't
Android
fly
at all.
It wouldn't.
That
fly.
would.
No,
And we already know there are big there are issues with sending lots and lots of data, even over Wi-Fi. Not everybody's Wi-Fi connection is made the same. If you're at home on a more congested Wi-Fi network and you have an older phone, this maybe won't be the best experience ever. So I'm sure that Google's trying to figure that out and keep proper limitations in place. Anybody who's used like a Chrome remote desktop or any other remote desktop app knows that sending the interface of something else over the internet to your phone could be a little sketchy of an experience.
Yeah, it absolutely can. I suppose if there's a company that could do this effectively, it would be a company with the size and resources as Google has. So,
right. And this doesn't really work very well for all kinds of apps. Something like Xiaomi is a great example because it's a lot of reference content, and it's easy to search for. But something like an Instagram, that's not really going to work very well. Lots of imagery, lots of scrolling, and obviously there's no pathway to post photos and things like that. So it's not going to work for every developer.
And that's actually that's kind of another, not concern, but another question I had about this, and I don't know, maybe you can address it a little bit, Sean, is the fact that so many services and developers have already created mobile versions of their of what they have. I don't know. I kind of wonder if it kind of muddies the water a little bit as far as like how you determine which is the best experience to deliver to someone at that very moment. But then at the same time, I suppose it's kind of in the developer's hands to choose whether they want to take part in it and serve up their mobile app in place of their web-based app. I don't know.
Exactly, and I think it's interesting you bring that up because Google actually has two different programs right now with app indexing. They have what they kind of referred to initially as just app indexing, which is an online app indexing for maybe somebody like Android Central, where they have online content. And then they have this new type of app indexing that they call app first app indexing. And it really is for mobile developers and publishers that are doing a mobile first implementation instead of a web first implementation.
Got it. Well, Sean, Meredith, really appreciate you coming on and kind of giving us some insight into an angle on this that I haven't really heard a lot about since I initially heard about this when it broke last week. Where can people kind of find what you guys are doing? What do you want to plug? It's kind of your magical opportunity to do that.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. So at www.chimani.com, like I said, we've just finished our 20th National Park app. And really, if anything, we want to encourage people, get outdoors, enjoy the outdoors, go to a national park, especially now that the centennial is coming up in 2016. So pick a Chimani Park, go visit, and enjoy the park. Don't stare at your phone the whole time, but use our phone or our apps to actually help you get the most out of your park experience and see the most amazing outdoors adventures that the United States has to offer.
Right on. Very cool stuff, Sean. Thank you again. And best of luck. I'm curious to hear, and if you want to get in touch with us at some point in the future, when you kind of have some hard numbers on this as far as like how this has gone and what it's doing for your installs and everything, please let us know.
Sure, anytime. More than happy to come back on and let you know how things are going. And like I said, big fan of the show, and good luck to you in the arena.
Thanks. Good luck to all of us.
We need it. Thank you.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
All right. Thanks again, Sean. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Very cool stuff. All right. Let's take a quick break and thank the first sponsor of today's episode. Actually, a new sponsor for All About Android, and it's very cool. This episode is brought to you by Automatic. This is Automatic. This is basically a way to plug into your car and give you access to the underlying data that your car is putting off. Your car probably hasn't kind of kept up with technology, but this Automatic adapter can do that. It turns your car basically into a connected car. You just plug the Automatic into the same port that your mechanic uses to diagnose engine problems. And from there, it just opens up this whole world. You have an app on your phone that lets you keep track of your fuel mileage, vehicle health, expense business trips, with a single tap. You know exactly where you're going and how long it took you to get there. It's to link your car to the connected devices that power your life. If an engine light comes on, you don't know what it means, Automatic can actually tell you before you take your car into the shop. Automatic can also integrate with your Nest thermostat, so it knows when you're home. It can even provide the answer to one of life's most common questions. Where did I park my car? Where's my car? Dude, where's my car? This thing will let you know that the minute you park it and walk away, it knows, and it's part of the app that you have in your pocket. I've been using it for a month and a half, and one of my favorite features of Automatic is that it has these little auditory beeps that it will do for you when it knows that you're driving. Let's say you accelerate really fast or you apply your brakes really fast, things that can, tax your gas efficiency and all that kind of stuff. If you apply your gas too fast, it'll kind of go blip. But it's cool. It's nice because it gives you that sense. And whether it was intentional or not, it's a good kind of check, I think. This works on nearly every car made after 1996. It only takes a few minutes to install. You literally just have to find the port, plug it in, and then sync it with your phone. Connects to iPhone, to Android, all over Bluetooth. Gets real-time performance data. It uses intelligent coaching to, like I said, maximize your fuel economy, reduce the wear and tear on your vehicle. Dashboard web app also gives you granular information and lets you export the trips that you've taken over your history of using Automatic. Gives you plain English explanations for things like, check engine light, so that you know exactly what that means. It integrates with Nest, like I said, Your Mechanic, FreshBooks, and more. IFTTT support. So if this, then that. So you can, go all out and maybe send out a tweet that says, I left, I'm on my way to work when you leave your house. I don't know. Really, honestly, the sky's the limit. You can use this to integrate in so many different ways. It also supports the Apple Watch. It supports Pebble. And, hey, there's no monthly fees or subscriptions required. And Automatic never sells your data, so it's your data. So here's what you do. Automatic is normally $99.95. When you use our special offer code TWIT, you're going to save 20%. Go to automatic.com/TWIT for more information and to purchase, and use offer code TWIT to save 20% off the regular purchase price. This is it. This tiny little thing. Very, very cool stuff. That's automatic.com/TWIT. And we thank them for their support of All About Android and the TWIT network. All right. Speaking of cool little pieces of hardware, let's talk about more in hardware. So, not one but two of you have filed your reviews of the OnePlus X.
This has been a really good year for phones.
Yeah,
I just
it
have
has.
to say. I know we're not on the total like year-end, whatever look back that we're supposed to be doing, but since
Soon
it is
enough.
Thanksgiving,
Soon enough.
Since it is Thanksgiving, I am thankful for what a great year this has been for phones. Granted, it's kept me very busy.
Yeah.
But
I bet.
the OnePlus X was another example of just like a really good phone for $250
For not very much
for
money.
not
at
very
all.
much money.
Kind of a
Pretty
crazy.
okay phone.
Yeah. Okay, so is that your review? Pretty okay?
Well, I gave it a 4, so
Okay.
it's definitely not just pretty okay.
Yeah.
A 4 out of 5, since
Yeah.
that's our
Okay.
scoring system. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I just finished up. I took a little more time on this review just because I got to see it in very in-depth right at the launch. So I had all of the basics out of the way, so I really wanted to use it. So I put up my review today, and I mean, we don't do any kind of like a star rating or anything, but I think I'm in the, I mean, it's always going to be within the price that we're talking about, $250, that I would say it's like a 4 out of 5 or so as well. It offers a really good value, and I'm super glad that OnePlus was able to do a cheaper phone but keep it feeling really good, and just they spent the money in the right places. I think. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about the shortcomings and all of the different issues with it, but I mean, they spent the money on the internals, on the screen, on the glass and metal build. Everything is put together super well, and you just don't always get that in
No,
a
not for that
$250 phone. I mean, I'm thinking about how this compares to a $220 Moto G.
Yeah.
And like this completely destroys.
I
a
was thinking about that
$220
too. I was
Moto
like,
G.
you know what? I think I'm going to take this phone to Europe. I think this is the phone I'm going to take to MWC in February. Like, I always think about that. What's the next, like...
Which one? That's
which
true.
phone?
That's a consideration I've never had.
I always bring a cheap
weigh.
phone because I
Right.
get, like... I pretty much just pay for data. So I always bring a cheap phone just to have, like, data on me. And I'm going to bring this one.
I mean, that's tall praise to, because I'm so used to hearing Moto G is the choice for lower cost,
And-
high quality
But
device.
There's absolutely still something to be said for the lower $180 Moto G as far as like getting your foot in the door with a really good cheap phone. But if you're going to pay the extra money to get to the $220 model, which is 16 gigs of storage and 2 gigs of RAM, this thing runs circles around it in performance. The cameras on both of them are kind of subpar anyway. The screen is way better here. The battery life is about the same, and the external hardware is just way better. It's not cheap, flimsy plastic. It's metal and glass. It's built, just as well as it's built just as well as a Galaxy S6, and the Galaxy S6 costs $600.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
right. I felt
Wow.
that way too when I was holding it. I was like, man, this feels like it's way more pricey than it is. But I have to say, it was still like, I know it's a little thing, but they could have at least put an NFC chip in there. I mean, with Android Pay, like, I don't even, fine, you don't want to put like fast charging and whatever, but just like an NFC chip, so I don't like, but I guess I just can't use NFC in Europe.
So that's just that's one of the examples of where they spent all this money on the hardware and they put a Snapdragon 801, they put 16 gigs of storage, 3 gigs of RAM, SD card slot. Like those are things that you don't always, specs that good you don't get in this kind of price range. And the downside was no NFC, no quick charge, no wireless charging, not that great of a camera. But there are going to be trade-offs on all these lower end phones, and I feel like if we keep talking about the Moto G, like the Moto G just kind of cuts back in all the areas.
It does.
Whereas the OnePlus X, excels in a lot of areas and then cuts back further in other parts. There's this really big shortcoming of it just for some unknown reason missing a proper AT&T radio band, which means that it's just not a good choice for AT&T users, which really, really stinks. I used it half the time on T-Mobile, half the time on AT&T just to compare. And it's just you shouldn't buy it if you use AT&T, but a lot of people use T-Mobile or their MVNOs or they're in Canada or Mexico and they don't care about that because this is a North America model. And if you can get past that weird thing, it's just a really good phone for that price. It's kind of insanely good. And the software is, we know what Oxygen OS is like. It's basically just bone stock with a few customization options.
And you can always just put the Google launcher on if you want the Google Now to live.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want Google Now on your leftmost home screen instead of like the shelf thing, that's really the only difference there. I mean, you can rearrange the quick settings, you can change to a dark theme, like super basic stuff. You can switch between on-screen and capacitive buttons. Like those are very subtle, like very useful tweaks. Everything else is completely, it's less altered than a Motorola phone because they don't even throw in their own stock apps. They use Google's Contacts app, Dialer, Messenger, everything except for the camera and the FM radio is all.
I like the camera
stock.
interface on OnePlus phones actually better than the stock Android camera interface.
There aren't many camera interfaces worse than Google's stock interface.
I know. I'm so glad you agree because
it's very bad because I've been using the 5X and the 6P lately, and it's very, very bad. But the OnePlus X camera is it's
better than the Moto Gs, and like the low light performance isn't that bad. I would be fine with using this.
It's not terrible. My only issue is that HDR just straight up doesn't work on it properly.
Slow.
It's just super slow, so it's impossible to get a clear picture. But
That's
I see
a nice
Jason's
photo,
scrolling through my photos. What I like to do in my reviews is I cherry pick the best possible photos. I don't choose a range of photos just to see show people what it's like. I choose the best possible photos I could get out of it, and then people can decide if those are good enough. I think it does a pretty good job. Again, for $250, it's not challenging the Galaxy S6. It's not even challenging like the Moto X Pure Edition or something, obviously. But again, those are phones that are $150, $200, $250 more. It's not as good as the Nexus 5X, which is a little upsetting because the 5X is a little further down there. But then again, the Nexuses took a huge jump this year. So, you can't fault this too much. It's just not a great camera sensor. And
I like the photos that we were just showing on screen, though. Those were really nice.
And you're constrained at some point.
Totally.
They went with a basic camera sensor. The phone is not even 7 millimeters thick, so there's not a lot of Z depth to have a nice lens on there or anything. But dang, as far as like just taking quick snapshots, it opens and takes photos really quickly, focuses quickly, has burst mode, has slow motion, has 1080p video. How much more can you really ask for it at $250?
Yeah, the other potential downside for any phone coming out of OnePlus, of course, is how you get it.
Well, fortunately, they're doing a little sale this week. They're going to allow you to buy OnePlus 2 or OnePlus X with no invite, just like that. And they said they're also going to have a couple of other little sales going on toward the end of the week. So if, maybe the OnePlus X will be less than $250.
Yeah, if they trim any amount of money off this, it's really going to be a good choice. I don't know. Of course, there's going to be the invite thing. That's something to deal with. People are saying that they just officially went on sale like less than a week ago in the US. So, they said at the launch event that there's only going to be about a month where an invite's going to be required, and they're going to open it up. What stock is going to be available once they open it up. Right. Who knows? I do feel like OnePlus is being a little more humble about their situation. They know that the invites are annoying, but they also know that they're kind of necessary from their perspective if they want to trickle them out a little bit. The OnePlus X has lower expectations, obviously, and a lower price. It doesn't appeal to as many people probably as the higher end OnePlus 2 that everybody kind of wants. So I think that they're going to be able to smoothly transition to just offering it on the store, hopefully, for the North America model at least. And once that happens around the start of next year, that'll be one less hurdle to deal with.
Yeah.
Just don't buy the USB Type-C cable for your Nexus device.
Yeah, so that was something I got wrong last week.
Oh.
Well, so I apparently at some
'cause
point
we were trying to
got
figure out whether it was-
misunderstood whether it was the cable
or
or it
the
was the charging
adapter.
brick. And of course it was the cable.
Yeah.
But I think I told you, Ron, no, don't worry about
Yeah,
it. It's
you
cool.
should
You
be
don't have the brick.
fine.
So
we talked
I was
about
wrong.
this on our last Android Central podcast as well, and it puts us in a weird spot because we always, when we switch to something like quick charge or to USB-C, or even when we went from standard like tablet chargers to quick charge 1.0, we're like, oh, here are all the new chargers you can buy, all the new cables you can buy, and it's never recommended that you use anything but what came in the box. And if you read deep enough into the fine print of any phone that you buy, they can't guarantee that anything works except for what comes in the box. There's just this added wrinkle of USB-C being a new spec, and we haven't really dealt with that in a long time. We saw it a little bit when they tried micro USB 3.0. That kind of fell on its face, obviously.
Oh, yeah, it did.
But we haven't had to deal with this in the modern smartphone era yet. So I use a OnePlus USB-C cable every single day. It's the one I use because the Nexus
you
5X
have one.
comes with a
Ruh-oh.
the Nexus 5X comes with like a 2-foot long cable that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the first of the two Nexuses I have, and my phone hasn't exploded, but it's always a year mileage may vary. We know that some of these cables don't follow spec. What that actually means in using the phone, I don't think it's as easy as flipping a light switch between being fully compatible and like your phone's going to explode.
Yeah.
That's my spiel on that.
Well, and then Ron, speaking of kind of these devices.
This
did
is
you get a new one?
the Uzon USB-C cable.
The
that I got.
Uzon.
Uzon. Yeah, that's what it's called. If you can read that.
Uzon.
Yozon. Yes.
Uzon. That sounds
like
like a space god.
It was like $8 on Amazon, and I cross-checked it against that spreadsheet that the guy from Google put together, so it looks like it's okay. So the Nexus 6P is currently charging. It is not flaming or steaming or anything, so we should be good.
Good.
Cross our fingers. But that said, if you are currently in China and you're also looking for a competitor to the OnePlus X for a low-price phone, Xiaomi might have the next phone that you might be interested in. They showed off their latest low-price device, the Redmi Note 3, which is a 5.5-inch 1080p display with an MTK Helio X10 processor, fingerprint sensor, 4,000 milliamp battery, fast charge support. It's got a metal build in gold, silver, and dark gray. Comes with 2 gig of RAM, 16 gig of storage, and all of that for just about $141 US. Although I don't know what the currency in China would be, but would be a different number. It's only released in China. And if you wanted to upgrade, you could upgrade to 3 gig of RAM and 32 gig of storage, and that would just be $172 USD. So there's Xiaomi coming in with a low cost phone. I mean, hard to beat $141. That's for sure. So
No kidding.
Remember when they said they were going to
what
come
they
to the
do.
U.S.?
Was that?
yeah.
Remember when they said that? Like,
That they
I
would
remember
come.
when
Yeah.
they said that they were going to explore the possibilities of maybe bringing a phone model to the U.S. at some point in the future. Don't quote us on that. We're going to do that. Okay.
So you're saying like soon is what you're saying.
Right. Which, start the countdown. I mean, as I
Any
wear
day
my
now.
Xiaomi headphones that, they sell
okay, I
these
was
in
going to
the
say I
US,
totally have the same headphones.
and I use the Xiaomi power bank that they sell in the U.S. They sell their accessories. They just haven't quite done the phone thing yet.
And those headphones also double as earmuffs. They
Oh,
keep
do
my
they?
ears very warm on the walk.
Okay, so
Just
now
FYI.
I'm actually looking at your headphones.
They're gold.
Okay,
Yeah,
those
they are
Yeah.
gold, and they're nicely.
And how much are they?
I think they're
I
like
think they're
$80.
like- I'm not sure. I
Or
know
maybe
that
I'm
they have-
wrong.
I think they're only like 40 or 50
I
bucks.
could look it up, but
honestly.
that would require.
But they make
Looking it up.
over ear one or on ear ones, and then they make a couple different levels of in ear as well. They're 80 bucks.
Okay.
Yes, I was right.
You win. Yep. But they're really good headphones. Their accessories are really nice, and they don't gouge you. You feel like you're paying the proper price. Really.
Well, I mean, seriously,
keep
like the
your ears
Mi Band of all things. What is that? That's like $9, and it's a fitness
Yeah.
band that does
I'm
about
for that.
anything you'd need a fitness.
Because
You know,
my Fitbit, like I paid $100 for it, and I don't even use it anymore. 'Cause it's kind of.
and their power banks are built amazingly, and they're like $12 or
They're
something.
really heavy.
Yeah, it's
You
like
could totally throw it at somebody's head.
$14 for
Wow,
a 10,000
don't do that.
milliamp hour battery. That's, it's not built like your average $12 cheap power bank you get off Amazon from some random company. So
Yeah.
they do that part right. And I've used some of their phones, but of course, anytime you use a Xiaomi phone in the US, you don't get a great feel for it because it's not made to be used in the US.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of have to go through, jump through a few hoops to get the Play services on there, and that isn't necessarily what it was designed to do anyways.
Right.
Xiaomi has their own kind of services and kind of catches, that appeal to the folks that they can sell it to.
But
but
still
the
notice every
hardware
time I
is
launch a phone.
tremendous. Like the hardware quality, I've thought on the ones that I've seen is really, really good.
Absolutely.
I just don't think about Xiaomi.
I think about Xiaomi and wanting their devices to be released over here.
Oh, I don't know.
I think if they did that, they'd be a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, I just think about how tough of a job Huawei has had coming to the Western markets and trying this Honor brand separately in the UK and Europe.
Yeah.
Trying to, do things differently there, and then still have, they've also done Huawei branded devices in the US. They're not doing Honor in the US. So they're having troubles with it. And I think Xiaomi would end up having a lot of the same troubles.
Yeah.
And they still have Xiaomi has a lot of room to grow in China still. And they also, India, Brazil, the rest of Southeast Asia, like these are huge places that they have lots of traction in that I don't think that they need to go, running into a wall trying to go to the US market just yet.
Plus, they don't want to deal with us. Our carriers rule everything here.
Yeah.
It's creams.
they'd
Carriers
have a
rule
lot of
everything
headaches
around
over
me.
here.
It's not cookies.
And there would be a lot of companies that would
Thank you
be
for getting
first
that
in
wrong.
line.
I got it.
Sorry.
All right, I got it. I'm with you.
No, that's all right.
Just thinking of cookies now.
I know,
so.
now I am.
We
I
have
forgot what I was
creams,
going to
ice
say
cream
because I want a
sandwiches.
cookie.
Now I
Sorry.
want a
Thanks.
sandwich. So yeah.
All I know is that Samsung and Apple and other companies would love for Huawei to bring their devices into the U.S. so that they could squash
Oh, I
them
thought
like
you
a
were
bug.
going to say Samsung and Apple would love to have an ice cream sandwich. So
They
well,
own all the
Samsung-
ice cream sandwiches. That's the
Samsung
problem.
tried the ice cream sandwich thing.
Oh, they
But we
did?
need
Look
some
at
other
that.
flavors
Another
to come
level.
into the
Ice cream
U.S.
sandwich.
Some other flavors, some cherry tart or something. I don't know. But Huawei's lucky it's writing on Google right now with the Nexus 6P. So
Yep.
we could have a whole show just about Chinese OEMs.
It's true.
BT dubs.
No, we could.
Like just
And we still wouldn't even scratch the surface.
yeah,
of it.
it's
That's
just
one's
there's
available.
so much to say about it, and
There's so many.
part of the reason I don't delve into it as often as I should is because it's just so much thinking. It's just so much to think about and so much to consider. And
Yeah.
And the next level, then go look at India and the amazing, completely contained inside India mobile
Yeah.
market there is with, the carriers and all the different manufacturers that are local to that area. It's crazy.
Wow. Let's talk about a few other types of devices, like maybe the ones we wear on our wrists. So real quick here. So last Thursday, I came in the evening to help out with a Good Morning America thing that we were doing, a GMA 40-year thing. And one of the segments that they did was on wearables in general. And I went in the back room, and what did I see back there? I saw a Tag Heuer Wear watch. And so I said,
Holy
all right,
crap.
everybody's gone. I've got work to do. I'm putting this on. I'm going to wear it for an hour because this is probably as close as I'm going to get to the Tag Heuer watch anytime soon.
Dang, that buckle is
that is
a lot
really
thicker than I thought it
manly. That
was.
is a really, and I don't mean it in a negative way. It's a manly watch. You know what I mean?
It's a manly watch. I
like,
mean, it's
that's
a
a James Bond
chunky piece of
watch.
hardware. It is
If you've seen any
bulky.
of the other Tag era
Heuer.
model watches, they look like that.
Yeah. No, and that's what's fascinating. It's like it's so realistic, I want to say.
I will say, man, it looks big, and that's because it is. Like, this is not the kind of watch that's going to work on small wrists. I thought it worked okay on my wrist. It's not going to work on small wrists.
No, I wouldn't
It's
wear
heavy,
this.
and it's chunky. And normally I would say
Could
heavy
you
and
beat
chunky.
a man with it?
What's that?
Could you beat a man with it?
I think you could probably get a nice size welt on
Okay. All right. So
somebody's
it doubles
forehead.
as a weapon. Sorry. Go
Yeah.
on.
I also could get nice sized welts on my forehead by running into
That's
cupboards.
true, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Hey, tall guy problem.
Yeah, totally. Oh, man.
Hashtag.
This weekend I saw stars. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, yeah, you could kind of see the knot. I don't know if you could see it right there.
Jason.
It was big. It was big. Now it's like settled down a little bit.
Jeez.
Oh, man.
Wow.
It was like a big. Ugh. Anyways, Tag Heuer.
So you wore a $1,800 smartwatch on your wrist, right?
So what is it?
Ridiculous?
1,500, I think.
1,500, yeah, 1,500.
Whatever. It's thousands of dollars.
Did you already start talking down to everybody else as
Yeah.
soon as you put it on?
I put it on, yeah, and people were like trying to talk to me. I'm like,
Did you get into a Tesla afterwards?
no, I wish that would have happened. It was nice. $1,500 night. Would I spend $1,500 on that watch? I would absolutely not. But
Would you spend $1,500 on a regular like mechanical watch, something that you could pass down to your children?
So in that case, no. I'm not the target audience for
Yeah.
this watch.
But it looked really
was
nice
really
on your
nice.
wrist.
It was really nice. Of all the wear devices specifically
It looks
that
like
I've
an
worn,
opera watch.
it felt the most like a real watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's saying something, especially when you qualify that with it's big, it's bulky, and it's heavy. Qualifiers that normally wouldn't be a good thing with most other Android Wear devices, I feel like. If anyone came out and said that, they'd be like, oh, wow, well, that's too chunky. I don't want that.
Well,
but for some reason with this, it worked. And I'm not sure if it's the Tag Heuer brand, like chipping away at my brain or what it is. But I was like, yeah, this works.
It's
So I'm
because
sure you
Tag knows what
guys-
Tag knows what they're doing with
Yeah.
those size watches. I
Yeah.
mean, like I know guys who wear watches like mechanical watches that are bigger than that Android Wear watch you're wearing. You know, and
oh yeah, I have a mechanical watch I wear that's much larger than that already.
Yeah, the women's watches is hard to find. It's very hip now to buy like a man's watch and wear it,
Oh,
like a heavy, man's watch.
I didn't know that, but
It's hip.
but I'm so out of
wear,
touch with what's hip
and
these
Michael
days.
Kors' like watches are like the most affordable ones that you can buy at Macy's if you just want a style watch, and that's what I usually compare Android Wear watches to.
Oh, okay.
Because that's a watch that I would buy for fashion because it's like between $30 and $150, and they're a little heavy and chunky. Like the chunky style's in, but it kind of sucks because when you put in like a little motherboard and a bunch of chips in there, it gets really heavy.
Yeah. No, I liked it though. I would love to get a Tag Heuer this watch and spend more than an hour with it.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that I did that because I think going into it, I probably would have just outright mocked it and been like, $1,500 is too much. It's too big and chunky, blah, 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 blah.
But you
But
get
after wearing it for like a solid hour and like using it, and the screen's nice. The screen looks really nice. The mechanical, the button on the side had a nice feel to it. Like the build quality was what really sold it, I think. $1,500 sell it? I don't know, but
Anyone who is already trying to price out like a top end Huawei watch with a metal band or a Moto 360 customized with a metal band, it's going to be upwards of $500, or if they're going to buy one of those with an extra band, $600. You're already talking about a really expensive connected watch, and it's not that crazy to think that there are people with a little more disposable income than you that are looking at a $1,500 watch instead.
Sure.
That also has the Tag Heuer name on it. And I'm not sure if you guys talked about it last week, but this whole upgrade trade-in offer that Tag is offering as well. It's kind of puts it in this weird thing where you almost, if you're someone who was already looking at luxury watches, this is the bottom end of the luxury watch, which is kind of crazy, but bottom end of that luxury watch market, this is just a deposit towards buying another Tag watch. And that's kind of the crazy way to look at it.
That's the mid-range.
It's $1,500. With at the end of 2 years, you can just pay $3,000 more, and you get a $5,000 to $6,000 mechanical Carrera. And
that'll last you a lifetime. I mean, you could.
Well, yeah, it'll last you a
hand that down to
lifetime, and
your
then
kid,
and then your kids' life. It's not unheard of that people buy $1,500 watches on a whim, or $600 watches for that matter.
Ah, the 1%. Must be nice.
or not even on a whim as an anniversary gift or something.
Right.
This is also true.
Graduation present, things like that. I mean, there are lots of people. I mean, I know it's on a different level, but there's a lot of people this holiday season are going to be handing over $1,500 computers
And
as
Lexuses.
gifts. and Lexus is, or whatever.
Jerks.
The big bow on top.
I know, trying to justify everybody's $1,500 watch purchase, but it's just not. It just doesn't strike me as crazy as some people thought.
I don't think it's crazy. I agree with you. I mean, my dad's a watch guy, so
Right.
I've seen he has a collection of watches that he like swaps out. So
I had a Swatch watch when I was younger.
yeah,
Sweet.
They would never
Or a
buy me
couple
a
of them.
Swatch watch. I don't know why. My parents wouldn't let me have one.
And I just think about my current use of Android Wear watches, and which is to say I don't use them that much, even though I have a bunch of them.
Same.
And it's like, well, so I have this watch Urbane here that sits on the charger every single day, and this is what, a $300 Android Wear watch.
$300 alarm clock.
Right, but I wear my $150 mechanical watches, every single day instead of this $300 watch that just sits here. So, I mean, you can find more value in something if you wear it all the time.
Sure.
I don't know if Android Wear is going to be that for everybody, but if it is, there you go.
Maybe that's the challenge. Is Tag Heuer has been tasked with trying to get people to think about smartwatches as a timeless,
Right.
accessory.
And they realize how difficult that is because they've instilled along with it an upgrade path at the end of 2 years.
They were like
you're probably not
fixing.
going to want this for more than a couple of years, so you could trade it for something that you will want to pass down.
Yeah. I think
And
it's kind of nice.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I
it
think
makes
it's nice.
sense.
And then it lets you try out the smartwatch thing.
It could also be an entryway into Tag Heuer's premium brand
That's
for
the
a
whole
lot
point.
of people.
That's
right?
the whole point.
You're not used to spending a lot of money on a watch. Well, here's a way to get in on a brand that everybody considers to be
here on this
near the top.
side.
Yeah.
Beautiful watches.
Now, speaking of the watch Urbane,
Oh yes, the other debacle, which I was kind of nicely forgetting about until you brought it up.
sorry, crashed it back down to earth.
Poor LG has had a really weird week. So last week they announced the Watch Urbane Second Edition, or the Urbane Watch Urbane Second Edition, which I always get mixed up. And it's a really pretty watch, nice upgrade to the last generation watch that they had. It had LTE. It has LTE capabilities, which it announced a little bit earlier this season. The launch of it was supposed to coincide with the new version of Android Wear, but unfortunately, LG has recalled it after apparent component issues. Now, nobody really knew what was going on when this was. So what happened is LG actually sent out emails to those of us that had review devices. My boss got an email from them, and we published it, and it was, to say there were some component issues. We didn't really know what was going on, just kind of shrugged it off. Today, apparently, LG went to the Telegraph in UK to tell them what was going on with the component issues. The display was at the heart of the technical issues, and apparently there was an issue that could reduce image quality on the device and get worse over time, though apparently the issue didn't happen to anybody. It was just like a potential issue.
Yeah.
But that caused
enough.
LG to retract everything. So the watch was on sale for 6 days. It's not on sale anymore. There's no word if it's coming back in time for Christmas or anything like
Or at
that.
all.
But just, or at all.
like
It's just like a
it's a
complete
Permanent
botched.
shelf.
A permanent shelf.
It's just like, just a botched.
Well, I mean,
Release.
Poor timing.
I mean, how, if they discovered an issue, what else are they supposed to do? I mean, like it seems like it's a bad. Of course, it's a bad scenario, but it seems like they're
Yeah.
doing the right thing by pulling it, right? I mean, wouldn't you rather pull it than deal with possible customer dissatisfaction?
Well, yeah. I mean, the situation wasn't even going to be a possible customer
Right.
dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
It was a guaranteed customer
Yeah.
dissatisfaction. It was just at what point did that happen? And it just wasn't handled. It was handled very hurried. It was
It's
just
very hurried. Yeah, absolutely.
How
the way that it was canceled was odd. It's not at all surprising that it was canceled. If there are ways that they know for a fact are going to affect things, everybody said, oh, well, mine's working fine. Well, if it's 3 months or 6 months or even 2 years down the road, and they've determined with a good certainty that that's going to happen, they're gonna cut it off right at the start. They're not going to let thousands of these get out in the wild. I would not be surprised if there were only like 200 of these things sold in those first few days anyway. They're really expensive, only available through carriers. There wasn't a huge marketing push on it yet.
Only through AT&T.
And no one knows yet why they need an always connected LTE watch.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been a proving ground for that
So
yet.
the only people that really knew about this, like, it's very inside baseball.
It
It's
is,
just pretty
yeah.
much like us Android people. We know that this snafu happened. It's kind of embarrassing, I would say,
But by
for
and large,
LG. But at
hardly
the same
anybody
rate,
knows.
like, this is another reason not to rush out products for the sake of rushing it out.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest question I have, which is that how did it get to the point? Like how did it get to the point of you having a demo unit and then this get reported? Like what is their QA and testing situation?
I have a couple theories, but I don't want to. I don't want to add
Give 'em
flames to
away.
stoke the fire.
Yeah, I don't have any additional speculation other than the fact that it's not. I mean, this is completely standard to continue your QA testing while you've already seeded devices out or you've given briefings or anything like that. They're going to keep testing these things. Presumably, the next time around, they would not, be holding it off until this late in the cycle, as in like watches are in stores, especially considering that they've done previous watches. This isn't their first watch.
Yeah.
It obviously has new componentry in it, as LTE. I mean, it is kind of a convenient thing, though. They can sweep this one under the rug. It can be done, and I would be very surprised if they announced the same watch with the same name and just a new screen or a new case or anything. I don't think there's any reason to do that. There is this other side of the fact that like the thing was kind of huge and clunky, and like Jason said, it was a tough sell to have an LTE connected watch. It's always been a tough sell to have an LTE connected watch, and I don't think that that's changed as of November 2015. And they can just take another swing at this. They're going to make more watches. It's just not going to be this exact model.
Right.
I don't like the whole rushiness of the device industry sometimes, because stuff like this happens and it's a little frustrating. Like they had the watch when they debuted the V10 in New York, but it wasn't even working. Like they couldn't turn it on because it was a secret because Google hadn't announced that software yet. But I mean, why bother even putting the watch there?
Sure.
Like, we'll wait.
Gotta get everybody talking about it.
I know.
Gotta let everybody know
But
that we've got something in the works.
We don't
Start
need to
some
rush
buzz.
everything out. Like we can take our time, especially with watches, because we still I still need to be convinced to wear a smartwatch every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm in the
So-
same
Agreed.
boat. And double
Convince me of that
convinced
first.
that I need an LTE watch.
Yeah,
Hey Ma, how you doing?
And that's the thing, you can do that already with your your watch that's connected to your phone. It's that's the biggest thing. It's tough to, and we're in this weird startup of re-energizing having LTE connected watches, and that means the carriers are involved again. We saw it with the last Gear S, the new Gear S2, which AT&T continues to sell. Well, they're technically on sale. I don't know how many people are buying them.
Sorry,
but
it's just
it's
this whole
just-
thing is
it's just a
chuckle-worthy.
little forced, it seems to me.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Before we talk about some cool apps, let's thank the next sponsor of today's episode, and that is the Ring Video Doorbell. You've heard me talk all about the Ring Video Doorbell in the past, and kind of basically what it does is so awesome is it lets you speak to anybody that's ringing the bell at your home, or if you have motion detection on, it will actually, you can set up the sensitivity for how far and wide it detects motion, and then it'll give you a notification on your phone, and you can kind of tune in, and as you can see right there, you can see who's standing there. You can activate and accept the call and talk to them, and they'll hear you, and they'll talk back to you. My kids, obviously, I've said it before, they do it all the time. One thing I didn't mention is Halloween came along, and I didn't do my plan, which was to kind of set everything up and scare people when they rang the doorbell. But what I did do when we were done for the night, we put the remaining bowl of candy that we had outside, because if we didn't get rid of it, our kids were going to eat it. So you better believe we're going to get rid of it. And we put it out there. And then we noticed a little bit later that the bowl was empty. What I was able to do is I was able to go into the the recorded videos of the Ring Video Doorbell and find out why or how the bowl emptied itself within 5 minutes. And sure enough, there's a video there of 2 kids that run up, and you see the kids, they're all like looking around and like laughing and stuff. And they just start dumping all the candy in, and they're going crazy, and they're like, they're super scared they're going to get caught. They run off, and literally like probably 5 or 7 seconds later, you hear the front door open, and my daughter goes out, and that's when we found out that the bowl was empty. She's like, the bowl's empty. So she almost caught them, but I caught them with the Ring Video Doorbell. I know who you are, kids. Anyways, very cool stuff. That's just one example. Probably a little more useful when, say, a delivery person comes along with a package and wants to drop it off to you, and they need to know that somebody's around or that they've at least checked in with somebody. You can talk to them through the Ring Video Doorbell. It's like having a neighbor keep an eye on your home 24/7 and without the extra judgment, let's say. Installing Ring takes minutes. Super fast to install. It works with either your current wiring, so if you have a bell already, it can work with that and ring your bell inside. Or if you don't have the wiring, it has a built-in rechargeable battery that lasts up to a year on a single charge. And, you have the app that it's syncing to, so you know when it's low on battery and you can charge it super quick. It's a very quick recharge. Throw it back out there, and has proprietary screws that you use to mount it, so somebody can't just walk along and say, hey, I got a free Ring Video Doorbell. All I had to do was use this Phillips head screwdriver. It's proprietary screws, so you can't really remove it unless you have their specific kit. This year, you can give the gift of peace of mind and convenience with the Video Doorbell that Time Magazine named one of their top 10 gadgets. Go to ring.com/allaboutandroid for free expedited FedEx shipping. That's ring.com/allaboutandroid. Really, it's an awesome gift for Christmas and the holidays. And you should check it out for yourself as well. Get 2 of them. Hey, why not? With Ring, you're always home. We thank Ring for their support of All About Android and the Twit Network. All right, let's take a look at some apps.
All right, so Google is hell-bent on making my life a living hell. As somebody who is embarking on a media blackout of all things related to Star Wars, their latest cross-promotion announcement of teaming up with the folks at Disney and Lucasfilm and Star Wars to give you a Star Wars experience across Google is the thing of my nightmare. Actually, this is honestly, this is really, really cool. So basically, you sign in with your Google account, and you can choose whether you align with the light side or the dark side. And what it will do is it will customize your experience across Google. And we're talking not just the Google search, but we're talking Android Wear, Gmail, Google Calendar, Waze, YouTube, Chromecast, Chrome, Google Now, Google Search, Google Translate. All these things will look, whether you're light side or dark side, they'll look Star Wars-y. But then also the actual experience will completely change. Like if you're using Waze, you'll see X-Wings on the map. If
I have that up right now, actually, Brian, if you want to show it.
It's very, very cool. Yeah. So you get customized little Star Wars vehicles on the map, which is neat. If you're using Chromecast, it's going to put up stills and shots from the Star Wars movies and things like that. So it's very, very cool. I have not played with it because as soon as I saw this, I immediately closed the browser window. And I only read what I could find out that was spoiler free. So don't tell me about this Easter egg. Don't tell me about anything. I don't want to know. I've got less than a month till the movie comes out. Then I'll play with it. So
did you give him this news item on purpose?
No, I didn't realize that he was so vehemently opposed to anything and everything Star Wars news related. Although I understand, Ron. I understand.
I thought you were doing this on purpose, Jason. So now I recognize you're not as evil as I thought. I thought you were a dark side. So sometimes. Yeah. No,
I self-identify with the light side.
Yeah,
as far as Google is.
Ooh, I don't know.
Or maybe I don't. Maybe my inner self disagrees.
This is a really, really cool integration on Google's part. Yeah,
it's cool.
Fun.
This is really good promotion for Star Wars.
It really is. And we're a month out.
Is a pro at this cross.
What I think.
Yeah.
what I think is hysterical is that just the amount of promotion that the movie in general is getting, and to the point where, like, is there anybody on the planet who doesn't know this movie's coming out? Like, does it really need this? Like, yes, it's really cool, and it's just gonna grow it even more. But it's just like it's amazing to see the juggernaut. This is gonna be the biggest movie ever. So
it's already breaking pre-sale records like crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I can't wait.
Less than a month
to see it. I know. So in other app news, Google Plus. Google Plus. We wondered what they've been up to. Apparently, they've been redesigning their app, and
you said you were not very happy about it.
I really tried to not make a rush decision. I use Google Plus pretty regularly.
You
I
do.
use it on a daily
One of the
basis.
few people I know who use it regularly.
Power user.
I also do.
Yeah.
And
Just Jason
one
and
of
I.
the other few people I know who uses it often.
Yeah, I mean, it ties in pretty closely to this show, so a lot of it,
Right.
and the stuff that I do here at Twit is up, of the Android ilk, and so I have a following on Google Plus for Android stuff, so I use it regularly, and I've given myself time with both the app on the Android device as well as the web version, and I don't know, I'm just not feeling
What's up with that static bar at the bottom?
it.
I'm losing it over having that static bar at the
Collections,
bottom.
communities, and notifications.
It just feels like a step backwards in that regard. I don't understand it. I don't understand why suddenly in this app, in
On
this
mobile
of Google's
especially,
apps.
the information density is just so low.
Yeah.
It requires so much scrolling.
Yep.
And elements don't hide anymore. And I understand the focus on multimedia and collections. I get it. But I think Google Plus, I mean, I have to say, on the mobile apps, Android and iOS, they've always been low on information density. It hasn't, a complete opposite end of the spectrum of Twitter, where it's easy to scroll through, get little bits of information, feel like you're seeing a lot of things. This is like a lot of tapping, a lot of scrolling.
Yeah.
You can get lost really easily if you're not kind of a Google Plus power user, which I guess I feel like a lot of people that use Google Plus are power users, so I guess I get that a little bit. But this redesign didn't do anything to help that.
Yeah, I would agree.
See, but that's Andrew's point is exactly why I'm not really a Google Plus user, because I'm mobile most of the time. And what's the easiest app for me to use when I'm not at my computer? It's Twitter.
Twitter,
It's the
for
easiest
sure.
social network for me to use to complain about stuff compared to Facebook and Google Plus.
I did say last week that I didn't see where location was. It's in the side slide out, so it's there, so that's good. The web, I feel like the web version of it is like I've noticed my use of the web version. I used to have it open all the time and watching it and everything like that. Now there's so much of this extra kind of pushed out, wasted space by default. I realize you can hide it. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to doing that quite yet, but I don't know. I just find myself using it all less, and I'm trying to figure out if that's because of the redesign or what. But I do not enjoy the web version of it, so I don't know. I'm not.
No, I don't enjoy the web version either, to be honest. It's in the same way that I just complained about not having enough information density on the phone, which is more understandable because you don't have a lot of screen real estate. It's low information density on the desktop too.
Exactly.
You're stuck in this 2-column mode. You have to click individual posts to expand comments and see videos and animations and everything. It's just a lot of clicking and scrolling again, which is just very weird when you have the ability to be responsive and expand out. Now, I understand that it's in beta technically, and it's all subject to change, and it will change. But then why was this pushed out to every single user? Where people are going to say, of course, when it pops up that thing and says, let's try it, of course they're going to want to try it. But the problem is it's then an unfinished product, even by Google standards. And it's getting a lot of people riled up a little bit.
Yeah.
And the irony that the functionality was a result of what they have figured that the users want from user behavior. So the idea is that you would think that they would make these improvements to laser focus on the things that people were doing, whether it's communities and all these those sort of thing. But it seems to be having the opposite effect in that it's pushing us away. So
well, and I'm not necessarily sure that that's entirely true, because I do think that people, are looking to, like, Google Plus has become a place where things like communities and collections, maybe not as much collections. Like, there's a lot of curation that goes into collections.
I set up my first ever collection after this rollout started.
Right. Because they made it a little bit more accessible through the app. Now you have access to it, so maybe it makes a little bit more sense. So I don't know if it's necessarily a matter of them not giving you access to the things that you want to use. It's just the way that it's done. It just feels, like you said, low information density is the perfect way to put it. You feel like you have to go through a lot of work to do it. And if this isn't appealing to the core users of Google Plus, I just don't see how it's going to be a lure for people who aren't already users.
Like me.
And I hate to say it.
And I don't think that it's surfaced anything. So if you were just a casual user, if there are any casual users of Google Plus,
right,
there's nothing that this redesign did to like surface features and make you feel more confident about jumping into Google Plus. You still have to go in and set up all these collections. You still have to go join communities, get involved with these entrenched groups that are obviously way deeper into it, and it's a little daunting. I think it's a little daunting even for me, like trying to understand all these collections and things that I never really got into, and now it's a core part of the experience. So, well, you better figure out how the collections work and start adding to your own collections, or you're not doing it right.
Yep. So there we go. I'm sure.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm sure plenty of people who are listening and watching disagree. And if you do, AAA@twit.tv, let us know what you think.
I was going to try and transition.
Oh yeah,
and
do
then
that.
That didn't work. So
I stomped on your transition.
We're still working on this.
We're getting it. We're getting there.
Well, you know what Google has done right was going to be my original transition is now apps in the Google Play Store are going to tell you if they have ads.
Just like they,
That's the news story.
They started telling you when they had in-app purchases, which is huge.
Yes.
And they did the age ratings, which is huge. And this is just another, I'm very surprised that this wasn't part of the rollout of saying that it has in-app purchases and age ratings.
Yeah.
Well, apparently this might have a little more to do with Google's like design for families. They've been really going after families this year. I know that was a really big theme at Google I/O this year. So this is definitely just another way to be like, hey, your kid might want to play this game. It's going to flash ads at them and tell them to buy things. If you're not comfortable with that, you don't have to download this app. I'm happy about this because now I'm going to know what the heck is going to flash ads at me.
So the one odd downside of this is we kind of have a test bed because we have an app in Google Play that's popular, I think. Great app. You should download it. Android Central app. But it said, so we had to declare that we have ads in our app, even though we don't have any ads in our app because we use analytics and things like that. Which any news app is going to have analytics.
Right.
And we don't do display advertising. But of course, what does our app do? Well, it pulls in all of our stories from online.
Right.
And it's going to have analytics in it. And, part of not having ads in there is that we know how many people are reading each story. That's a given. That's how it is. So that was a little bit of a downside.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
They kind of jumped on us, well, not just us, everybody. When they came into the developer, when you go into the developer console, it was like, well, we've determined that your app has ads. Would you like to flag it as having ads, or would you like to try to change that? And for us, it's not that big of a deal. We don't think that installs are going to go down from having this little tag that says ads. Way easier than dropping analytics from our app, which is just not going to happen.
Yep, you need that information.
Right. So there is that part, but that's like such a tiny little sliver fringe use case versus somebody who has a kid and doesn't necessarily want to install apps that are just going to be flashing ads at them all the time. I wish that it was a little, all of these kind of apps that are flashing ads at you that are super nasty and trying to get you to click things that you didn't mean to click and con you basically into buying in-app purchases. I wish that behavior would change a little bit, but just surfacing, I mean, all you can do really is give people the power to understand what's happening in the app, and then hopefully they make the right decisions.
I know what you're getting into when you download an app.
Absolutely, because man, there are so many bad kids.
Yeah, Jason
games
can talk about it as having kids. I don't have.
Well,
kids, so
I mean, everything that you were saying is spot on as far as that's concerned. It's a minefield.
Similar to the streaming app that we talked about earlier, the streaming app's capability, I'm curious to see what effect this will have on apps with ads, to see if they see a decline in downloads. If people are saying, "Oh, there are ads, I don't even want it," which is tough because from a developer standpoint, there's some developers who have apps that have ads, they're using them responsibly, and that's just another revenue stream, and is giving them a scarlet letter of the red A with ads. Is that working against their ability to monetize their application?
Yeah, and I think it has to be a knowledge thing. People have to realize that if they're clicking install on a free app, and it's probably going to have ads or in-app purchases in it.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
That's part of the deal. And so if Google can just say that right up front, and it's not like putting them in a separate part of the store or, down ranking them in search or anything like that. It's just saying, hey, we know that because we scan all these apps anyway, we know that they have ads in there. Now, do I wish that Google could maybe rein in developers a little bit so they don't have crazy ads? Yeah, that's one thing that they could do. But at the same time, this is the most googly thing you can do. You just label everything and let people make decisions.
And looking at last week's misstep in the arena with the launcher app that I put in that had those insidious notification ads. If this had been, I don't know if they're going to the detail level of what type of ads are in there, but had I know, if I know that an app is using notification ads, I'm not installing that app.
Yeah, if there were multiple levels, that would be huge.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Hover over the ad icon.
All the transparency.
Yeah.
Just be super
exactly
transparent.
If there's something that's just like an interstitial ad between levels of a game, okay, I'm willing to deal with that. Or if it's like a small banner ad, like you see in a lot of file managers or utilities and stuff like that, that's completely okay. It's the crazy takeovers and kind of the tricky ones that shouldn't be there.
Yep, agreed. All right. Well, let's take the time to thank our next sponsor. And we want to thank us talking about advertising. We want to thank
talking
Blue
about
Apron.
good ads.
Yeah, exactly. Tasty ads, indeed. And so we want to thank Blue Apron for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. And so listen, everybody needs to know how to cook. And not only will you feel like you know your way around the kitchen, but cooking at home means eating healthier and saving money instead of ordering expensive takeout again. But where do you start? Blue Apron has you covered. And I'm coming to you as a Blue Apron customer. I am a paying Blue Apron customer every week for less than $10 a meal. Blue Apron is delivering a ton of fresh ingredients, everything I need for home cooked meals. They give you all the ingredients you see here in the video. They're all packed nicely and with a little dry ice thing to keep the meat cool and all that sort of thing, and vegetables fresh. And they come with step-by-step instructions that help me make my dinners in an easy, simple way that takes 40 minutes or less. There's no overwhelming trips to the grocery store, no more sad takeout. And no matter what your dietary preferences are, Blue Apron makes it a breeze to discover and prepare dishes like crispy catfish shoyu ramen with yu choy and fresh ramen noodles, or chicken meatballs with braised kale and spiced celery mash right in your own kitchen. I'm pretty sure I made that one, though, and it was really good. You can cook with ingredients that you've never used before, such as watermelon radishes, farro, and purple potatoes. And recipes are between 500 and 700 calories per portion. So not only are they delicious, but they are good for you. So right now you can get your first 2 meals free. Just go to blueapron.com/twit and you check out this week's menu and check out the future and past menus to get a sense of all the food that they do deliver. And I got to tell you, since I signed up for Blue Apron earlier this year, it has changed the amount of time I spent in my kitchen. I'm cooking. I'm having fun doing it. I feel very prideful when I finish the dish. And each week it's a new set of recipes that are things that I would never even think of making. And they taste fantastic. So once again, get 2 free meals. Go to blueapron.com/twit. And we thank Blue Apron for their continued support of All About Android.
Blue Apron is delicious.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really good. And they have two different like types of menus. You can do family style or for 2 people, whatever. And they kind of
and if you're gluten free or if you have allergies or anything like that, you let them know, and they that you can select if you're vegetarian. You never get any meat, that sort of thing. So it's very, very cool.
It's good stuff. And now I'm hungry.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of hungry, let's get into the arena.
So many answer, but only one lives. Android Arena.
See, the transitions,
That was a good transition.
They don't need to make sense as long as you deliver it with conviction.
No, we just have to be on the same wavelength.
We'll
We're still working on that.
We'll get there. Let's see here. Let's take a look at last week's poll. This was episode, what was it? It was episode, I suddenly can't tell, 240. And yes, relay for Reddit. Wow, 36% of the votes.
Aw, nobody liked the kitties. Oh, well.
Shocking.
You never know with kittens and the internet.
Yep.
Either going to go through the roof or give you 15% of the votes.
Yeah.
Relay for Reddit, 36%. Flexi came in second, 29%. Cloud Cow, 20%. And then Nico Atsume, Kitty Collector, had 15%.
And
Oh my
and
gosh,
as we
that's the okay. I know this cat app.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't
It's
watch
the
last
it's the one that's
episode.
been crazy. It's been taking the airwaves by storm.
My friend and my girlfriend were playing it at a Friendsgiving get together, and I was like, "What is this? What is this cat app I'm saying?"
You just put stuff out for cats.
Jesus.
That's
Well,
about
That's pretty much it.
as we get to the end of the year, it's probably important to note where we are with the arena wins. Currently, through 46 weeks, Jason's got 16 wins. I've got 14. Flo's got 5, and our guests have 11. And that means Jason's magic number to clinch the year is just 2 more wins.
Wow. When did this happen? I feel
You
like
surged, man. You surged. I told you it was my year to lose. This has been my year to lose.
I feel like we should start from 0 on the new year because I came here in the very tail end.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, yeah.
We
Oh, we
reset.
do?
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every
All
year
right.
it starts from 0.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I know you kind of got the bum end of the deal.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The 5 was pretty good for,
Yeah.
you know.
The audience has done everything they can to help her catch up. That's for sure. So,
That's true.
yeah. Wow.
Kitty
You got
collector.
a lot of fans. You got a lot of
Kitty
fans.
collector.
Just say. Kitty collector notwithstanding, but
I'm giving you the thumbs up on Kitty Collector. I
Thank
wasn't
you.
here to vote, but
let's see here. All right, so you can.
So I
redeem
lost,
yourself.
so I get to go first.
That's right. You can redeem yourself.
All right, well, we'll see if I can redeem myself with this week's app. So I'm into apps like If It, which is what I call it, if this, then that. But they're sometimes I just don't have enough patience to set up all those formulas, but I wanted to find an app that could do some of that stuff on my Android phone that didn't have to do with external services and all that. So found an app called MacroDroid. It's free. It does have in-app purchases. So this is MacroDroid. Been trying it out for a couple days. It lives on in the background when you're using your phone. Not much of a battery hog, but then again, I am running Marshmallow, which has the amazing Doze. So there is that. Thus far, I only have one macro set up, which is this little toggle when I'm listening to music and I have my headphones plugged in. I can pump the power button 3 times to tell me the time. And I know this sounds like a silly little thing, but when I'm walking the 6-7 blocks up to work from the train station, I need to know if I should move my butt a little faster so I can make all of the crosswalks, or if I can just kind of trail behind a little bit and take a stroll on the way to work. There are a bunch of pre-made macros that you can choose from here under templates. It'll show you macros that are popular nearby, the most popular of all time, and just what some of the latest ones are. If you don't have patience for doing this like how I don't have patience, this is a pretty good app. And the only thing that is sort of annoying about it is that it has advertisements, but you can get rid of those for $3. So if you want to do a couple things, MacroDroid.
Nice.
A couple things.
Kind of
Automation.
Kind of had
automation.
a little Windows tile look to it.
Yeah, it does. It's a pretty simple. I mean, I don't have time to make any recipes on my own, so I don't have
it's like
patience.
Tasker, but not crazy involved.
Yes, exactly. And actually, thank you for bringing that up, because I did look at Tasker and I was like, this is too much for me. So I tried to find something that was a little more simple, because I like to have some of those little actions and things, but I'm just a really impatient person, which you guys will get to know about me going into the new year. And I don't really have patience sometimes for Android. So I'm like a
little too much control, a little too much kind of macro control over in the Android world.
Yeah, I was thinking you were speaking like psychologically about me, and then I was let's not go into a therapy session.
I didn't mean that. I meant I think I know what you mean, though, because I feel that way with Tasker. The Tasker specifically. It's like one of those apps that, man, you can do a lot with this app. Yeah. If you really want to spend the time to do it and really understand how it's in. By the way, the design is dated, and you have to jump through all these hurdles.
Yeah.
But if you have the time, patience, and you want to...
Yeah, I just don't have patience. I just need somebody to figure it out. Hey, Flo, you might want to put this little recipe on, so just figure this one out. And then I'm like, thanks, person in the cloud.
Excellent. That is Macro Droid. I'm adding that
free
to my
or $2.99 if you want to get rid of the ads.
Nice. Excellent. All right, Ron, you are up next. I can show off the app portion of this. I can't show off the Chromecast portion, but there are screens.
Yeah, we can show the screenshots from the Google Play Store if Brian can pull them up. So as I was looking for my app this week, I last week I was playing. If anybody got the new Chromecast that was announced a couple of weeks ago, and the new and improved, and there's a bunch of neat little functions where kind of like the Netflix, where the fast buffering and things like that. It's really an awesome experience, and I love Chromecast. But what I realized what I was missing is that there's a lot of times where my TV is on and my Chromecast is sitting idle. And it's, admittedly, Google has their ability to show the photos from a photo feed from Google Plus and other news outlets, but I wanted to have a little more control over it. And so in doing so, I found this app called Dashboard Cast, which is actually by an independent developer. This is a guy who does this in his spare time. And so it's a great little project, and I wanted to highlight it and possibly throw some support its way. It's basically a Chromecast app that allows you to customize a series of widgets and have them appear on your Chromecast screen, whether it's a TV or wherever your Chromecast is hooked up. So you can add, he currently has clock and date widgets. He's got a weather widget, any RSS feed, so you can pull in an RSS feed to the widget display, your phone's calendar, so your calendar account, stock quotes if you're into that sort of thing. And he's also been experimenting with some cool stuff around audio in terms of playing audio streams. So if you have an MPEG or any other audio format stream that's streaming, you can tune into that and have your TV play that, as well as maps with layer or traffic information. So if you're in a scenario where you've got a TV in a business, in an office, or maybe you're just at home and you want to have that TV in your kitchen being kind of useful instead of just sitting there, this is a great fun little way to do it. You can customize the way it looks. You can go with a light or dark theme. There's some other little customization options there. And Jason, I don't know if you want to go in and go into the app and show how you can set things up.
Yeah, I've got the app here.
Yeah, so you can hit the. It's all material design as we like it. So you can say add a widget by hitting the action button. And from that, it gives you the list of options, and you could add, a weather widget or whatever one might be in there. He's got some cool stuff planned in future versions, and the big one that I'm excited about is the ability to choose your own backgrounds that will display behind the widgets, as well as a picture carousel widget. So, if you like having the photos that Google currently provides you, but you want to see your own photos, this will give you that added control. And hopefully, with a little more time, the developer will get that in a future update. And he's also working on integrating with other, like audio services like Google Music and podcasts and things like that. So it's just a really neat little side project that actually is done really well and really elegantly. And so if you want to kind of boost up your Chromecast experience, check out Dashboard Cast. It's free in the Google Play Store. So there you go.
Yeah. That's cool.
I like this app.
Yeah,
I have to download it when I get home.
Yeah, and to our previous conversation, you can see down at the bottom there is a little small ad, but he does have the opportunity to offer an in-app purchase where you can donate to the project, and you can choose your amount that you want to donate, and that helps the developer, kind of give him a little money his way for doing good work and hopefully do more functionality.
It's like Canadian dollars.
He's probably Canadian,
so you're getting a good deal on that too if you're in the U.S.
Exactly.
Nice. Cool. So that is Dashboard Cast.
That's a great idea for the lobby of a business, or just to have just have on when just you can glance over when you're cooking dinner or whatever. You can have your little widgets there, RSS feed.
I like the music streaming one.
That was my whole thing, because for a while I was working from home, and I would, each morning as my day started, I would, turn on my computer, and then I'd turn on the TV and my stereo to have Chromecast on, because I would use, Google, Play Music to stream to it. But there are times where I'm not listening to music, and I would just look, and it's great to see a photo. It's kind of cool, but just having more information is just that much better. So
sure. Cool. Dashboard Cast. Check that out. Andrew, I have your app installed, and then I also have some pictures that you sent my way.
I sent them over because I don't think it's going to really do anything in the Bay Area at all.
It doesn't do it for my area, but it did redirect me to a supported area, so I think I'll be able to actually show it off.
I didn't even think about that. You could go to Seattle, or that's where I use it, obviously. Anyway, so this is an app that I use every single day, multiple times a day, called One Bus Away. Well, that rhymed wonderfully. It's available, I think it says, let's see, so it's in the greater Seattle area, Tampa, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, York, Canada, Rogue Valley, Oregon, and I know that so this is an open source app that has APIs available that the MTA in New York has used this source to make an app as well. But the main app that's in the Play Store supports a few different areas, and it's for public transit information. So, so if you're like visiting somewhere, obviously Google Maps, if you want to go by public transit, you can say, get me from A to B, and it's going to say, give you your step-by-step. But Google Maps, if you've used it for public transit in a place where the public transit system, isn't great at getting you around. Things better, to just go to a certain stop, go to a certain station, rather than, blindly follow Google's weird algorithms based on where it thinks the next bus or train is coming. So this taps into actual live data from whatever transit authority is in the area. So you get live bus and train time, monorail, light rail, whatever times. So you can tap on a station, you see all the routes, you can look at upcoming stops, whether something is delayed, running early, running on time. You can see the full route in a map or just in a list of stops. If you say, oh, I know I need to go to a certain stop down the road, or I need to go to, certain area generally, you can, you don't have to know the exact route that you need. You can just kind of probe around. And once you do know where you need to go, you can set reminders, favorite routes, favorite stations, so that you can just pull them up quickly. So I have a transit tunnel right across the street from where I live. I can star all those stations. And so as soon as I need to go somewhere, I can just pull open the app. It's one tap, and you're looking at the upcoming buses and trains for that station.
Nice.
Yeah. And so it's obviously basic. I know you're showing it around there. It's an open source app. It's run by some volunteers and grad students and former students from UW here in Washington. So it's not going to be the fanciest thing ever, but the fact that it has real-time transit data. So it had real-time transit data well before Google Maps or the transit app or any of these other apps. So, that means a lot more if you're trying to get around a city than just the nice interface. I know the nice interface is good if you're visiting somewhere, but if it's if you live in one of these main cities where it's supported, it's the wealth of information that it gives you access to is worth way more than having a material design interface or something like that.
Sure.
So it's like Waze for transit.
Pretty much. So you'll know if there are delays, or you'll know what order the buses or trains are coming in. So you don't have to go stand out in the rain or something like that if you can already see that the bus is 5 or 10 minutes delayed, or if it's running early. Google Maps, for the most part, unless you live in an area that they've started to roll out live information for transit, you're just going off of the plain old route schedule that was provided by the transit authority. And that's not always the best way to go if you get around by public transit at all. And this just means a little less of a headache, and you can just check it from your phone. You're not out, standing there looking at the route schedule to see if it's going to arrive.
Excellent. So it's one bus away, all one word.
Mm-hmm.
And nice.
Completely free, no ads, no in-app purchases. They do accept donations on their website to try to keep it running, but it's an open source project with just really nice, devoted people keeping it running.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. One bus away, and that is free. Awesome. All right. So mine is, you guys have heard of Product Hunt and Hacker News and all these, just a bunch of these sites that are kind of user generated, dense with information and all this kind of stuff. A service like Product Hunt doesn't necessarily have an Android app yet. But there are ways to get access to that information. One of the ways is an app called One, and it's kind of a container and reader for a bunch of services. So basically, you take a look at the interface. I've noticed today Hacker News is not loading. Neither is Designer News, but you got Slashdot posts are surfaced here. Product Hunt, some of the basically the top posts in Product Hunt are surfaced here. Some Reddit stuff, although I gave you a better Reddit app last week. GitHub, we got Medium, posts from Medium, and Readability, top reads. And I don't know, it's, other than being kind of one of those apps that does a lot of different things, I'm not sure that I necessarily use One to read each and every single source here. But for something like Product Hunt that I want to open up and kind of get, glance over and kind of see what's there today, it's kind of a nice way to be able to get access to that in an app environment if I don't want to go to the web.
This is like a waiting room app.
Sure. Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a time killing app.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Pull it up. On the side there, it'll take me through to the Product Hunt page so I can see kind of the post as well as the conversation, all of the comments and everything that are being posted around that. And you get a little bit of that, the Product Hunt site integrated in. So it's kind of more of what you expect to see. This is a way to browse to those posts in a number of different search services. And I don't know. I just think it's, it's an all-in-one multiple service type access app. And I just think it's a good way to get access to this stuff and browse through. So yes, I like the idea of it being a waiting room app because it's certainly something that you can just open up, check all the columns and kill some time.
I like
with.
the interface. It looks really easy.
Yeah, it's very easy. Like there isn't a whole lot.
Can you add
to it.
any feeds?
I don't believe that you can add to this. I think it's pretty much just a reader.
Well, I think it's one of those things where you probably wouldn't want to have 7 or 8 distinct apps just to load each one of these things.
It's also true.
Unless, you're hardcore into Reddit or you're hardcore into a certain one, but this is like, you can just kind of snack on 7 or 8 different ones.
Yep, exactly.
Like that.
So you can see this is the story we had earlier.
Spoiling it for Ron.
Oh, sorry, Ron. Sorry.
Stop.
There is there is a light side and a dark side in Star Wars. Sorry, Ron. I spoiled it for you.
Come on.
So tapping that takes me through to the site. Tapping the comment essentially takes me through to the Product Hunt page in this case, and you can kind of browse the content there. So, kind of a neat way to get access to some of these things, whether they have an app on Android or they don't. And to kind of contain a bunch of things in one single app, so you don't have to litter your app drawer with a bunch of stuff.
I like all our apps this week.
Yeah. Excellent. That'll mean that it's going to be difficult for people to vote. And by the way, it's called One, O-N-E. That's going to be hard to search for potentially in the Play Store. So the Pomo To Do, P-O-M-O-T-O-D-O, put that in your search. One and Pomo To Do, and that'll help you pull it up.
Pomo Todo.
Pomotodo or Pomo To Do. They have a Pomodoro To Do app, I believe. I believe they do that app. Maybe they don't because I'm not seeing them. I thought that they did that app, but I guess they don't. Never mind. But there you go. That'll help you find it. Okay, so We have Macro Droid. We have Dashboard Cast, One Bus Away, and One. Search or vote for your favorite app this week. It's AAApoll.com/241. AAApoll.com/241. Place your vote on your favorite app. We'll check in on it next week, and we'll see if I'm one step closer to clinching the division, as they say.
I gave up a long time ago, so
it's okay. I have a feeling.
You know where
I have a feeling 2016. That's your year.
I always do better on even years.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go. The guest.
A year is a long time.
It is
very true.
Many things can change over the course of the year, as we've seen this year.
Yes.
And it's very possible that the guest could still come and win this, right? The guest is still within.
The guests are mathematically still in it. Yeah, that's for sure. So
trying to do my part. I didn't know it was going to be such a serious situation here.
Oh, it's pretty serious.
Yeah, it's to the death. Whoever ends up winning the most doesn't
I get some
have to
very
die.
small fraction of some kind
Sorry,
of
that was a little
wonderful
morbid.
prize.
I just did the math, and the guests are mathematically eliminated. Unless they win this week. Well, unless they win this week, then they could tie you, Jason.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, a tie is acceptable. I don't know what
So
we
we
were
only
going to do
have-
in a case of a tiebreaker, but
including today's episode, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more polls to go. So there's only 5 to go for the rest of the year. So the guests would need to sweep to tie you, Jason. And then your magic number is 2, and my magic number is 4. So
wow,
Yeah.
wow, this year.
So Flo at best can play spoiler.
That's true.
So, yeah.
You could change the course.
Yep.
It's okay.
And then 2016 is your year.
I gave up.
Okay. Don't give
fine.
up.
Don't give up.
You're saving all your great apps for next year, aren't you? These are merely great. You're saving your great apps for next year, so that you can make sure it wins.
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Ever since I came on this show, now I really think about the apps that I install, and
I know.
I didn't used to.
It's a sickness, Flo.
Yeah, it's just I can no longer just do I.
You can't just
talk
be
about
like,
this on the
I'm not
show?"
installing any apps this week. You must install apps this week.
I haven't done any. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Sorry, we didn't warn you about that. We brought you to the
Lay in
fold.
bed, phone above head, just download this one.
Andrew, always a pleasure getting you on. So happy to have you back. Sorry it took so long. Thanks for coming on tonight.
No, that's fine. No problem at all.
What you got?
Fun to be on. I think it's. But this is only the second time. I've been in studio once, but not on the show. I was trying to think of how many times I've actually been on.
It was weird when I went through the guest list and I was like, man, it's really been that long since we had Andrew on. I have no idea. You are awesome. We need to have you back a lot sooner this next time. What are you working on? Is there anything that you want to tell people about, where they can find your work, what you happen to have in the pipeline?
Yes. Android Central, just have that OnePlus X review up. My take on the Nexus 5X as well, because I got to use that one. I have a Nexus 6P now that I'm going to be writing stuff about. Galaxy Tab S2 that I'm writing about.
I love that
It's
tablet.
just phone and tablet silly season coming to a close. We're going to be doing lots of, our favorite stuff over the year. All that kind of retrospective stuff now that there aren't going to be any more announcements for the rest of the year. So,
We hope.
wrapping everything up. Well, yeah, unless something comes out of crazy, super left field, we get to, kind of rank who did good stuff, who maybe came up short.
Yeah.
And, kind of look back at a crazy, crazy year, even by Android standards.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree. This has been a big year for Android. One of the bigger years, I might say. AndroidCentral.com plus Andrew Martinick on Google Plus. Excellent. Thanks
the
again,
person
Andrew.
that's still there. Yes.
Yes.
Google Plus.
We'll see for how much longer.
Yeah. We'll see how I feel about those collections here in a couple more weeks.
Exactly. All right. Thanks again, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flo, what about you? What you got working on?
So I'm taking the rest of the week off because it's Thanksgiving.
Yay.
Yay. But
Turducken.
I actually got an interview with Ryan Oldenburg from the CEO of Pushbullet about the whole controversy about
Nice.
behind Pushbullet. I emailed him and I was like, just wanted to like talk about it. Let's just like talk about it. So little Q&A going up tomorrow.
Oh, cool. That's going up
with
tomorrow.
With an official like explanation.
Excellent.
On greenbot.com and PCworld.com. Just a little bit from Ryan's mouth.
I'm very curious. He also did a Reddit AMA.
He did, which also like lit the fire a little more. So it's
interesting.
It's
been an interesting story to see kind of how this.
It is very interesting inside baseball. I personally like it when things like this happen. I realize it's not the most interesting thing to non-Android fans. I say fans because we are a little more into the world than other Android users are. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Excellent. Looking forward to that. All right, that's greenbot.com tomorrow. Fantastic. Thank you, Flo. What about you, Ron, other than being cold in New York?
I'm desperately trying to warm up, enjoying the rest of this holiday week in New York, and then returning. I'll be back in studio next week. But until then, you can go to about.me/RonXO, where you can follow all my daily exploits over on Twitter or Google Plus or Instagram and wherever your heart's content is. And check out my latest podcast over at GoodfellowsMinute.com, where we're analyzing the film Goodfellas 1 minute at a time, and we're just about we're almost coming on the hour mark, so there's still time to catch up. So yeah. That's all I got.
Oh man!
I mean, 2 more hours
I can't
to
even
go.
imagine, dude.
You see these bags under my eyes? Yeah, that's from doing a daily podcast. There you go. So.
You're like, all right, when we've reached the end of Goodfellas Minute, let's rethink this whole minute podcast thing.
That's the thing, is that the single most frequent question we get is, what movie are you doing next? It's like, oh God, just let us finish this one. We have 146 episodes to go, please.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it's fun.
I'm amazed. That's
it.
awesome. Yeah. Cool stuff. Thank you, Ron. Brian?
Well, like Flo, I'm taking Thanksgiving off too, so no Howell this week. I know there's a lot of people out there disappointed.
Oh, come on. Oh, man. Boo.
Boo. Thank you.
How dare you forsake us in our time of need?
Yeah, I just figured everybody would be busy eating turkey, so no reason to know how to do anything other than that.
All right.
But otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter at cranky_hippo. And also, Flo, good job on screensavers this
thanks.
over the weekend. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a great show.
That's right. Flo was on last Saturday.
It was like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah. It's a whole new world doing the screensavers.
And I lost a mason jar in the process.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know where my mason jar went. I left
it
here and it just disappeared.
You temporarily misplaced your mason jar. We'll find it.
Took my mason jar.
It's a very nice mason jar.
It was a nice mason jar.
Cool stuff. And you're actually out next week, right? You're not on next week?
I'm not on next week. I'm sorry.
So we will be sad that we will not have you. We do have Gina Trapani coming on the show in your absence.
Who I bow down to, yes.
So Gina will be on. We also will be having Matteo Doni bringing back the awesome to the show.
I'll get the goat stuff ready.
I'm sure he'll have a goat app of some sort.
No goats.
Because that's how he rolls. As for me, you can find me at about.me/Jason Howell, music at yellowgoldmusic.com. I am working on some new stuff, a collaboration with a friend. It's going really well. So I don't know when that's going to see the light of day, but someday, yay. Hey, do me a favor. For all of our shows on the Twit Network, twit.tv/bestof. Go there. If there's a moment from one of your favorite shows on the network, All About Android, This Week in Google, Mac Break Weekly, This Week in Tech, the shows that I have to comb through the entire year's worth of episodes to pull moments from, and the others as well. Go to twit.tv/bestof. Put in as much information as you know about those moments. That's really going to help us out on picking those moments. Yes, it's a Herculean task, but I'm up for the challenge as long as you'll help me out. Please, will you? Okay, thank you. All right, that's it for this week. 347-SHOW-AAA is the voicemail number if you want to leave us a voicemail. Email and video mail can be sent to aaa@twit.tv. We're on Twitter. We are at Android Show. We have a subreddit at twitaa.reddit.com. We have the Google Plus community. Hey, no matter what anyone says, our Google Plus community is awesome and is happening with Google Plus. So you should check it out. Just search for All About Android there. Show notes and past episodes at twit.tv/AAA. And you can catch us live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live.twit.tv. That's it for this week. We will see you next week on another episode of All About Android.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Turkey Day.